Let's go car spotting. This is part 2 of Rustic Canyon. If you missed part 1, I'm going to put the link up top, but it's really not necessary to watch this. Same thing applies. I guess last time you would call the north side of the canyon. This side would be the south. There's still very interesting houses over here. And in fact, last time we actually saw more interesting houses than we did cars. The coolest car we probably found on that video was the 2-door G-Wagon, which are really rare here in the States. But I think we can do better this time. Same thing applies here. Every house is like 3 to 10, maybe even plus million. So nice houses usually equals nice, cool, unique cars. Let's see what we can find. This is a little bit ironic because part 1, the first car I found was an E-Class Mercedes. It's actually a really awesome AMG 63 S-Wagon. And I was hoping this would be an AMG E55, but unfortunately I don't think it is, especially since they took off the badges. Usually if you take off the badges, it's not the cool one. Just peeked around the corner here and saw an NA Mazda Miata. NA is usually A for the first generation. The subsequent ones have been NB, NC, and the current generation is ND. Okay, we got 3 interesting cars in a row. This is a Nissan Pathfinder from the early 90s. It's got that hard body style. And in fact, Nissan just introduced a new feature for their Frontier where you could like get it to look like an old school hard body. I'll give you a look at that. It's actually pretty cool. And if you haven't seen a new Mustang yet, here's one. This one's not too exciting. This is basically a rental spec one. If you see a V6 convertible, it's probably going to be a rental, especially here in California. And then you know I'm a sucker for cool wagons. Don't see too many of these. This is an Acura TSX with the sport wagon back. The thing's pretty cool, and you probably aren't going to see another one of those too often. Just to annoy all the pure Mustang fans out there, here's the Mustang Mach-E, all electric. I think they should have branded it different, but it's still an interesting car. Here's a really cool old Range Rover. This one's actually a 2-door. I mean, the new Range Rovers are cool, but if you roll up in this, that's a G move. It's a pretty awesome car, and I love the British Racing Green color too. So this is kind of interesting. This says kids space on the back. Now, most of the worker vans that we see, like I showed in the first one, are like old Toyota pickups. This is a Mitsubishi. I think these are called a Mighty Max. And this one's packed full of toys and stuff, it looks like. So I think this is actually, the person who lives here is like kids' toy bin, and they just park it out on the street. Interesting use of space, but honestly, it's cheaper than a storage locker. What are the odds I see another NA Mazda Miata? And I think that might even be the same color. If it's not, it's very close. That's really strange. And it wouldn't be an LA car spotting video without a black G-Wagon. Seriously, I find a black G-Wagon on almost every single video. This is a G55 AMG. They don't make those anymore. This is a few years old, but since the G-Wagon doesn't change too much over the years, a new one looks almost exactly the same. So down below here in the canyon, the creek is right across the street. It's hard to see a lot of the houses. I wish I could show you because there are some cool ones, but you do get a glimpse at some of the ones on the top. And look at this thing. That is a monster house. Definitely a lot higher than the 3 million I said. That's probably, I'm gonna say at least 15 to 20 million for that. Enjoy this while you can. This is the Fisker Ocean. This company is gonna be bankrupt any day now. They're basically giving these things away. You can get them for like 25 grand now. It's like a $70,000 car, but no one's gonna be there to help you when it breaks down, and it is for sure gonna break down. It's too bad because these had a lot of potential. And talk about an old school EV. This may look like a regular Toyota RAV4 from the mid 2000s, but this thing's actually all electric. It was a little test run that Toyota did just in California. Here's a cool little section. These old school Mercedes SELs are basically bulletproof. And one of my favorite car brands that is now dead, a Saab. This is a Saab 9.5. Those are kind of the last ones before GM bought the company and ruined it. And someone over here must be an S-Class fan because here's another SEL, obviously a later generation. These things were kind of the last ones known to be basically bulletproof and one of the most reliable Mercedes. Nowadays we have 2 crowds. You basically go with a Raptor and get 10 miles to the gallon, or you go electric. This is one of the few new BMWs that actually looks really good, and I like them. It's the BMW i4. This is an M50 version. I really wanted one of these cars when I was younger, but of course I wanted the AMG CLK 55 version. Now, fun fact on these, the B pillar there in the middle, that actually doesn't exist. So if you put that down, you have a wide open space for all the windows. I think these still look great and kind of got that classic Mercedes look. There's a newer E-Class wagon, not an AMG, but still cool. That's an E450. And here's a Bentley Bentayga. Now this is a two-tone, kind of very luxury car colors. I think these are very ugly, but there's no denying that that is a nice ride. It's a good looking blue color on the Bronco. You don't usually see the dark blue too much. It's usually the lighter shades of blue, but I think that looks good. Give you a better view of the neighborhood here. That's the side of the canyon. It definitely doesn't look like anywhere else in LA. It's really awesome. If you got dropped here, I don't think you would know that you were in Los Angeles. Here's a first gen Porsche Cayenne 955. Now this is probably the only real true off-roading version of the Porsche. The newer ones are a lot softer because they realize that Porsche owners don't actually go off-road, but it's getting really popular with the overland crew now. It's very fitting that this is part 2 of the Rustic Canyon video because I'm seeing 2s of everything. That earlier Toyota RAV4 EV, this is an even older one. This is the very first generation of that. Extremely rare. If you don't live in California, I can pretty much guarantee you haven't seen one of these. This is awesome too. This is an Icon Bronco. If you don't know Icon's work, look them up. It's probably a $250,000 Bronco, but everything they do is like extreme quality. So most of the time people would say it's worth it. A couple cool SUVs. That's an Escalade V and the new Rivian R1S. If I could afford a nice electric and actually be able to plug it in, I would take the Rivian. I'm running out of sunlight, so I should probably call it. Now behind me is part of that same creek that I showed in part 1, but it looked a lot better in part 1. This is kind of the end of the stretch where it's heading to the ocean, and it's very man-made LA River-like. Not so beautiful, but you take what you can get here for water in LA. So, 2-car garage. If I'm gonna pick, I'm gonna take that old Range Rover. That thing was awesome and the perfect color. And then I'm gonna take the Bentley Bentayga and sell it and buy a cool sports car with the money. I just don't see myself rolling around in that thing, and it's probably the highest value car that I found on this one. So let me know your favorites in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and share. The channel is at Petrol Electric. It's also the same on all social media platforms. So do me a favor, share the video, and there'll be more to come of LA and car reviews and so much more. Anything related to cars, you're gonna find it on this channel. So I'll see you next time on a future Car Spot.